Thanks, Michael, and thanks to you for tuning in. Tonight's Lead the GOP's three-ring circus. Today, yet another sitting Republican congressman is on the hook for embracing this hateful rodeo clown who wore President Obama mask at the Missouri State Fair. Congressman Steve King tweeted, "Mr. President, invite the rodeo clown to the White House for a beer summit. Take the temperature down, have a laugh, relax. It's not about race. It's not about race." The fairgoer who shot this video said other clowns played with the lips on the Obama mask and that the whole thing felt like a Klan rally. This is ugly and tone deaf. But increasingly, the Republican Party is refusing to listen to anyone except its own carnival barkers. Today, Republicans voted to boycott NBC and CNN as debate sponsors if the networks don't scrap their Hillary Clinton films.
We're done putting up with this nonsense. There are plenty of other news outlets. We'll still reach voters, maybe more voters, but CNN and NBC anchors will just have to watch on their competitors' networks.
Now, whether you like the idea of a Hillary movie or not, it does seem strange that the GOP's big idea to reach more viewers is to shut out two national TV networks from the debates, while reportedly trying to get the GOP ringmaster himself, Rush Limbaugh, to moderate instead. After the election, the GOP said to get more votes, it had to widen the tent. Instead, the circus tent is collapsing. And today, Politico reports that establishment Republicans know it. They see 2013 as a, quote, disaster in the making. And they realize the party is actually in a worse place than it was November 7th, the day after the disastrous election. The GOP's extremism is doing real and serious damage to itself and to the country. Joining me now is Joy Reid, managing editor of thegrio.com, and E.J. Dionne from the Washington Post. Thank you both for joining me.
Thanks.
Good to be with you, Ralph.
E.J., has the rodeo clown become a symbol for everything that's wrong with the GOP right now?
Oh, I don't know. I think there is a sort of clown car aspect to all of this. I mean, it's really striking that people who are talking about the problems the party confronts aren't just liberals or Democrats. There's the piece today in Politico under the great headline, Eve of Destruction, about how worried Republicans are about the signal they're going to send if they shut down the government or let us default on debt. Republicans are very worried. And in this business about debates, I mean, I don't particularly care where Republicans debate, and I think Democrats would actually pay Rush Limbaugh's airfare if he were chosen as one of the debate moderators. But no debate moderator forced Mitt Romney to talk about self-deportation or forced Rick Perry to forget about an agency of government. I still think they need to worry a whole lot more about the message, including the message sent by some of this really pretty vile kind of stuff against President Obama.
Now, you know, there may be, Joy, listening to E.J., there may be a reason that the RNC wants fewer people to watch their debates. When you listen to what the candidates said in the primary debates last time around, look at this.
So if you don't deport them, how do you send them home?
Well, the answer is self-deportation.
It's three agencies of government when I get there that are gone. Commerce, education, and the, what's the third one there? Let's see.
This whole idea that you have to prepare and take care of everybody.
But, Congressman, are you saying the society should just let him die?
No.
Let's see. I can't. The third one I can't. Sorry. Oops.
Maybe they have a good strategy there to cut off the people that would view, because these are real live things that happened during the Republican primary debates last year.
Yeah, and I think, Rev, probably the most important part of the clips you just showed was the person in the audience that screamed, yeah, when
persons,
right, who were saying, let him die. You had another debate where a gay soldier stood up and got booed by the audience.
Right.
It is not just the candidates that are the problem for the GOP, it's the audience. They are getting to the point where the people who were whooping it up at that rodeo clown show are going to be all they've got left. They're going to be able to fit inside a circus tent because the party is shrinking down to its most extreme elements. And what the Republican Party is doing, I think in large part because of the Rush Limbaughs of the world, because they're letting their media people control the messaging, which they wanted to do for a long time, but the smart people wouldn't let them, is they are now just down to extreme talk radio style messaging. That's all they're doing all the time. And they're demanding that their political people do it too.
And they will not condemn the extremists.
Exactly.
They will not stand up to them. And EJ, that is what's killing them. Republican Senator David Vitter was caught on tape at a town hall meeting just yesterday, delivering an encore performance of Mitt Romney's infamous 47% comments. Listen to this.
I wish you were right that nobody wants Obamacare. That's not true. And in fact, the other side, who absolutely wants it, most of whom are getting something for nothing, came out in droves in the last election, and our side sat down.
Getting something for nothing. So now to get people insured with pre-existing conditions, to get young people covered by their parents' insurance to age 26, on and on. These are just people that are trying to get something for nothing, beggars wanting a handout. This kind of offense is what is killing this party.
Oh, I think that's right. And by the way, for the record, when I mentioned those debate moments, I had no idea you were going to show that clip.
You never should underestimate me, EJ.
I never underestimate you, Reverend. But I think that this comment shows that however much some conservatives try to run away from Mitt Romney's 47% comments, it's deeply ingrained, that view, in part of the right wing. And I don't think you would hear Senator Vitter say that about senior citizens who vote in larger numbers for Republicans, about Medicare or about Social Security. Why is it that getting health care to the uninsured is the only thing that they're really going to talk about something for nothing when it comes to health care? And I think the other thing is you're going to start seeing some real defenses of Obamacare. I certainly hope so, because I think a lot of people will realize they have a lot to lose. A lot of Americans, not only poorer Americans who need health coverage, but a lot of middle-class Americans who, as you suggested, really support a lot of provisions like being able to keep their kids on their health plan. You know,
Joy, the Politico reports that GOP insiders, these are insiders now, are worried about that. The fact that the party, quote, is hurting itself with the very voters they need to start winning back: Hispanics, blacks, gays, women, and swing voters of all stripes. And listen to all the things Republicans have said in just the last few months since announcing their big rebranding effort. Listen to this.
My father had a ranch. We used to hire 50 to 60 wetbacks and to pick tomatoes.
The incidence of rape and resulting in pregnancy are very low.
How did America get so mediocre?
I think both parents started working. And the mom is in the workplace.
For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
I have no idea.
Even at this point?
Well, I don't know. Was it a birth certificate? You tell me. You know, some people say that was not his birth certificate. I'm saying I don't know.
So with all of this autopsy, Joy, with all of this, we need to reach out, expand the tent. We need to really make a new party. These are the kind of things that they have representing their party. to the core, they can't change this.
Exactly. And what you just showed there, that was the core demographic of the Republican Party now. It is a generation of almost entirely men, almost entirely white, there are women in it as well, who come from a generation where they resent the changes that took place in the 20th century. They resent things like busing. They resent affirmative action. They resent the social safety net that they themselves actually used, that actually helped their families. But now they see the social safety net as something that only minorities, immigrants are trying to take, and they're taking it from them. And that resentment, nurtured on their right-wing talk radio and on their right-wing media and on Fox News, is all they've got. You can't grow if that's where you are.
But I thought they at least would want health care for grandma and other things. I mean, I understand, EJ, I understand, Joy, some of them may not like me, but don't they like grandma? I mean, their own grandma?
She's a taker.
Joy Reid, EJ Dion, thanks for your time tonight. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And you too.
Coming up, New York City officials begin appealing the stop and frisk ruling, even though a judge said it violates the constitutional rights of minorities. Plus, First Lady Michelle Obama is speaking out on the march on Washington and getting personal about having our first African-American president. And Bill O'Reilly made a big admission last night in an attempt to discredit and smear me. Tonight, I'm responding and exposing his monumental hypocrisy. Stay with us. Big news tonight about racial profiling in America's largest city. Today, New York City officials made good on their threat and filed an appeal challenging a judge's ruling that the police stop and frisk policy violated the constitutional rights of minorities. Mayor Bloomberg took to the airwaves a judge for her decision.
Think about this judge who stop and frisk. What does she know about policing? Absolutely zero. Your safety and the safety of your kids is now in the hands of some woman who does not have the expertise to do it.
Judge Shira Schindlin doesn't have the expertise. She's a federal judge who also served as a United States attorney. Mayor Bloomberg certainly doesn't have her kind of experience. The truth is, this program violates people's rights, and the city of New York needs to stop defending it. Today's appeal only serves to delay justice. Joining me now is a former New York Times columnist, Bob Herbert. Thanks for being here, Bob.
Appreciate it. Nice to be here, Reverend.
Bob, I want to quote from an article about you. You wrote about the stop and frisk policy. And the quote I want to read, you said, "Imagine Michael Bloomberg being stopped on the street by police and ordered in contemptuous tones to spread his arms and legs wide and lean over the hood of a car. Such humiliating treatment by the police has been a daily reality for staggering numbers of young Black and Latino New Yorkers." I mean, why is the mayor continuing to defend this policy?
You know, I pointed out in that piece, which is on a blog post that I wrote at demos.org, and I point out in the piece that the mayor has been as contemptuous of the judge in this case as he and the police department have been of the people that they've been stopping under the stop and frisk program. I think the important thing for New Yorkers to understand is how humiliating and degrading this program really is, and the fact that it is deliberately targeted at Black and brown New Yorkers. The second thing, that's the most important thing. The government should not be in the business of degrading its own citizens. All right. The second thing, though, that's really important is that it's preposterous to consider this an effective crime-fighting tool, because as I pointed out, virtually everybody that they're stopping is innocent. If you use the police department's own statistics, you'll find that they're not arresting criminals. They are not stopping crimes in progress, and they are not seizing contraband, guns or drugs or that sort of thing. And why? Because the people that they're stopping are innocent of any wrongdoing.
88% of the people they stop, nothing happened, nothing. And the percentage of those they do stop.
Very minor offenses, and as I pointed out in the piece, I have known over the years many people, I've talked to them, who have had bogus charges filed against them, and these charges were thrown out either by the district attorney's office or by a judge once it got to court.
But it almost seems irrational, because some of us have worked with this mayor on different issues, totally irrational on this, totally attacking everybody that questions it. And now it's going from bad to worse, because let me show you this. Now he's suggesting today that fingerprinting public housing residents would help bring down crime. Listen to this.
The people that live there, most of them, want more police protection. They want more people. If you have strangers walking in the halls of your apartment building, don't you want somebody to stop and say, who are you? Why are you here? What we really should have is fingerprinting to get in. And of course, since there's an allegation that some of these apartments aren't occupied by the people who originally have the lease.
Now let me tell you what my problem is with that. You know, a few weeks ago, I had challenged the Democratic candidates for mayor to spend a night in a housing project with me, and we did. We were in apartments that had 4- and 5-year moles on the wall that you couldn't get repaired. Elevators that haven't worked. You've had teenagers that had elevators that they never seen operate in their lifetime. But you're going to take money to fingerprint people in housing projects, and you won't even repair their apartments?
White people would never put up with it. If you were going to go into a white neighborhood and start talking about fingerprinting people before they'd be allowed to go in and out of their own homes, there would be outrage all over the city. The idea that he could suggest this about African Americans and Latinos is just disgusting. And the other thing is, as you're pointing out, if you want to do something to help the people who are living in public housing projects, take care of the conditions in those projects that the city is responsible for. And if there's crime in the projects, provide them with adequate police protection.
Let me get this response from you quickly. Commissioner Ray Kelly of New York will be on Meet the Press this Sunday in a preview clip that we just got. He says stop and frisk helps fight crime. Watch this and give me your response.
Nobody wants to be stopped. At the very least, you're giving up your time. But we need some balance here. We have record low numbers of murders in New York City, record low numbers of shootings. We're doing something right to save lives.
The crime started going down under Dave Dinkins in 1990. This is way before stop and frisk was.
And the police officers that Giuliani and Ray Kelly and Michael Bloomberg have been able to use to help fight crime in the city are the result of legislation passed by Mayor Dinkins that raised taxes to pay for additional police officers on the beat. But just one final point. All the people who say that stop and frisk is an important crime-fighting tool never explain. They're never willing to explain how this fights crime. How does stopping innocent people stop crime? You never get those answers.
Bob Herbert, thank you for your time tonight. Have a great weekend.
Much.
Coming up, First Lady Michelle Obama is speaking out on the Dream and the 50th anniversary on the March on Washington. Plus some alarming news on obesity in America. We'll hear from The View's Sherry Shepherd on how to fight it. And Bill O'Reilly disagrees with me, so he resorts to smears. My special response on why he needs to grow up a head. Raise your hand if you're in the mood for a little conspiracy theory on a Friday night. Ah, I knew you would. It has to do with this iconic picture of President Obama in the Situation Room the night of the bin Laden raid. This week, the president's former aide said he and the president played a few rounds of cards that night. And now, a conservative radio host named Brian Fisher says there's no way the president was really in the photo.
I believe if you go look at that picture, I think the odds are good that he was photoshopped into that picture. Look at the size of his head compared to the size of the head of everybody else in the room. Even people standing in the back of the room, their heads are bigger than his head. And it looks teeny tiny next to the people that he's sitting next to. He looks kind of hunched over and small.
Whoa, this is some groundbreaking stuff. Let's see that picture again. Wow. Look at the size of the president's head. It's so tiny. Let's break out the Pulitzer for Mr. Fisher. But to be fair, he's really in a long line of esteemed cracked right-wing reporters who continue the good work of exposing the president's photoshopping sprees. Like this one. The president appears to be in Chicago throwing a football. But thanks to those conservative bloggers like the Breitbart site, the president is exposed. Why is the president looking up? Nobody looks up when throwing a football, and his eyes, they say they're oddly large. Yes, America, another Walter Cronkite moment from the fringe. But this one was the Woodward and Bernstein moment. President Obama is supposedly skeet shooting at Camp David, but conservative bloggers and pundits lit up the internet exposing the truth. The angle of the gun is all wrong. It was a weird smoke pattern. The president's poor posture shows it can't be real, and he's not even wearing a hat. We all know skeet shooters always wear hats, but guys, wait, you missed one.
You remember a few months ago, my administration put out a photograph of me going skeet shooting at Camp David? Do you remember that? And quite a number of people insisted that this had been photoshopped. But tonight I have something to confess. You were right. Guys, can we show them the actual photo?
That's a joke. And so is the crazy conspiracy theory that the president wasn't in this photo. Nice try, but frame this one. We got you.
This is the meaning of our liberty and our creed, why men and women and children of every race and every faith can join in celebration across this magnificent mall, and why a man whose father less than 60 years ago might not have been served at a local restaurant can now stand before you to take a most sacred oath.
1.8 million people gathered on the National Mall that frigid January day in 2009 as Barack Obama was sworn in as our nation's first black president. It was an historic day, centuries in the making, and it's a national milestone that's all the more poignant this summer as we get ready to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington. In a candid new interview, the First Lady reflects on how far we've come in the decades since, saying, quote, "I have immense hope. We just finished our visit to Africa and spent time on Robben Island with one of the President Mandela's cell block mates. Mandela took a lot of the lessons from Dr. King's time to heart. To come back to the United States with an African-American president who has been influenced by both King and Mandela, that is a reason to be hopeful about all that Dr. King sacrificed." When asked if having an African-American family in the White House has moved the needle on race, the First Lady says children born in the last 8 years will only have known an African-American man being president of the United States. That changes the bar for all of our children, regardless of their race, their sexual orientation, their gender. It expands the scope of opportunity in their minds, and that's where change happens. Real change has happened. And as we prepare to mark 50 years since the March on Washington, it's important to celebrate how far we've come. Joining me now are Nancy Giles, TV commentator and humorist, and Allison Samuels, senior writer for the Daily Beast and author of the new book, What Would Michelle Do? Thank you both coming on the show tonight.
Thank you, Rev.
Thank you.
Allison, let me start with you. What did you make of the First Lady's comments?
Well, I thought that she thought it was very important to just remind people how far we've come, how important it is to see an African-American family in the White House in 2013. We're in the wake of the Trayvon Martin case where so many things happened that were very sort of divisive. And a lot of people sort of felt like we were going backwards in many ways. And I think what she wanted to do was remind us that many strides have been made, a lot of progress has been made, and that we can't lose sight of that. It is easy to do with the recent events of the last couple of weeks. But I think what the First Lady was trying to do was just to remind us to keep hope alive.
And I think we need a balance, Nancy, of remembering the progress we've made and still dealing with the issues of today. As Allison points out, I mean, the stand your ground laws, voting rights and all, and we're marching about that next Saturday. But I think that it should inspire us to see the progress made that gives us the strength to keep marching. And no one's a better symbol of that than the First Lady, who has been the target of so many attacks from the right. And yet she's made the decision just to ignore the noise. Listen to this.
I grew up in the same neighborhoods, went to the same schools, faced the same struggles, shared the same hopes and dreams that all of you share. I am you. And the only reason that I am standing up here today is that back when I was your age, I made a set of choices with my life. Do you hear me? Choices. I chose not to listen to the doubters and the haters.
I mean, that's
magnificent.
really inspirational.
I know. She's just, look, she's magnificent. And she inspires me in so many ways because she's public school educated. You know, she just worked really, really hard. And I agree with what Allison was saying. And I know it can be a very pessimistic time. But just the sight of she and Barack Obama and their two daughters in the White House is a mind-boggling thing. I have a friend, Victor, whose son, Alex, was 7 years old. This is a white kid, white family. And he was drawing a picture of all the presidents of the United States. This is right after President Obama was elected. It's going to be on your website, this picture. And all of the presidents that he drew had brown skin, and some of them had dresses. So for Alex,
I think we have the picture.
Yeah, that's it. That's by Alex Slezak, and it just I saw that.
This is what Mrs. Obama was talking about.
This is exactly what she's saying, because look, we're more than just a nation of immigrants. I hate when people say that that's all we are. We're a nation of, you know, ancestors of kidnapped victims, you know, of victims of genocide. Right. We've got all kinds of colors of people that are United States citizens, and for young kids, this is normal for them. A black president and a black family that are successful.
It changes the psyche.
It's powerful.
And we need to show what we have accomplished to show what we can.
Absolutely.
If we continue to deal with it, but not ducking what's going on doesn't solve it either.
No.
You know, Allison, Mrs. Obama has approached her initiatives even differently as First Lady. Her Let's Move campaign is even out with a hip-hop album. Listen to this.
It's hard to believe that almost exactly 1 year ago, we launched a nationwide campaign called Let's Move to help solve the problem of childhood obesity in this country.
She's really showing some innovation here, something you have never seen a First Lady do.
No, that's very true. And what I love about what she's done is she took an issue that was important to her. A lot of people thought, you know, it wasn't lofty enough, it wasn't, you know, extreme enough, but she felt like this was an issue that she could get a handle on and make a big difference with. And she has. And I think that is the sort of amazing part about Michelle Obama, being very clear about who she is, what she wanted to do, and the impact she wanted to have. And I think people have seen that impact now, and they're amazed that this program has done so well. But that is the genius of Michelle Obama.
Now, they also, in the interview, Nancy, she was asked about talk of a female president, and she said, quote, "Yes, I think the country is ready for it. It's just a question of who's the best person out there."
Right.
She was then asked about Secretary Clinton. Could she get the job? And she replied, "She hasn't announced anything, so I'm certainly not going to get ahead of her." And when they asked her if she'll run, the First Lady said unequivocally no.
Flatly no. I think she'd be, already she's just proven to be just so magnanimous and such. I think she could be a brilliant politician, but come on, this has been the spotlight like you've never seen before. And the kind of criticism that she's gotten about, really, it's almost like the people who are criticizing have been reaching for criticisms. This is a person who supported military families along with Dr. Jill Biden exquisitely. And as Allison was saying, the Let's Move program has taken something like hip hop, and some people have problems with that style of music. It's gotten kids moving, it's getting them to lose weight, they're planting gardens. They're eating better.
It's a whole new lifestyle.
It's a whole new thing, and it helps our nation's children do better in school. You know, everything she does is just so positive.
Allison, do you think she'll ever run for office? Allison?
Yes?
Do you think the First Lady will ever run for office?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's her temperament. I think that she, has gone through a lot during these last sort of years with her husband, and I think she's seen a lot, and I think she feels like her best work can be done in a less visible spot, where people work together and it's not so much division. I think that's what she would prefer to do.
Well, she's certainly inspiring. I told the president the real reason I lost weight is I wanted to be the pinup guy for the First Lady's campaign on health. She never picked me. I didn't even make the hip-hop album.
Let me tell you something.
But I tried.
Well, for
Nancy Giles, Allison Samuels, thank you for your time. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, troubling news on the obesity epidemic in America. The View's Sherry Shepherd wrote about it. She wrote about how to fix it, and you'll hear from her ahead. And later, why Bill O'Reilly needs to grow up, how his so-called revelation actually exposed what kind of person he is. We're back with big news on one of America's most serious health problems, the obesity epidemic. We had thought that what obesity was responsible was for about 5% of the deaths in America. But that number is actually much higher. A new study finds that 18% of deaths are due to obesity-related illnesses. This is a concern of mine and many other people in the news and entertainment industry, including Sherry Shepherd, co-host of The View. She's tackling this serious topic in a new book. And I recently sat down with Sherry to talk about her struggles with diabetes and weight and why she decided to go public with her story.
You know why? I'm always, from my days of doing stand-up comedy, I've always been public, and I just felt like I'm letting you know everything about me. There's not too much you can come to me and say, I'm going to blackmail you with, because I'm very, very open. But with diabetes, especially in the African-American community and the Latino community, it is like the fourth killer of African-Americans and Latinos, and I have it, and I'm very passionate about letting people know this is something that we have got to get under control because it is killing us.
No doubt about it. No, you said you were surrounded by diabetes as a child. And let me read a quote. Okay. It says, my community is like the Diabetes Hall of Fame. Aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins. When I was a kid, I actually thought limbs, toes, and feet just went away. My family was no different than a lot of others in my predominantly African-American neighborhood. We kids were always hearing the adults talk about this person down the street got the sugar. It sounded harmless. I know about that. Yeah. When did you realize the sugar wasn't harmless and that you were at risk?
I realized the sugar was not harmless when my mother passed away at 41 years old from diabetic complications. That's when I realized, wait a minute, this is serious. When I saw that on her death certificate, she went into a diabetic coma. My mother, I never remember her eating healthy. She would always drink a lot of fruit punch. She had a lot of donuts, a lot of candy. She was always going to the hospital because she had insulin reactions. And when she finally, her internal organs just started shutting down one by one, and she went into a coma. And I think with, a term called the sugar, you don't take it seriously because it sounds kind of cute.
Yeah, well, sugar is sweet when you're
Sugar is sweet. You know, and so when that uncle rolled up to the table and got macaroni and cheese and he had the one leg, you didn't think anything about it. He just got the sugar.
Right. No, it's amazing, but you ignored your own diagnosis for a while, and then you say that you had an experience involving your son that made you come to terms with this. Tell us about it.
Right. It wasn't after my mother passed away that I changed. It was after I got the diagnosis of diabetes. I went home and had a big bowl of pasta, and then I remember I got sleepy because my blood sugar had spiked. I didn't know that at the time, but now it was my blood sugar spiking, and I got sleepy. And I just had this vision of Jeffrey, my son, at about 5 years old, holding his teddy bear. He was in the dark crying because he was trying to figure out where heaven was because everybody was telling him that's where mommy was.
Wow.
And that vision of my son, who was born at 5.5 months, he was 1 pound 10 ounces, he's got special needs, that vision is what made me lift my head up and say, okay, Lord, I got it. I got it. I got to change my life, or I'm going to do to my son what my mother did to me.
I really, really admire you because it is cultural. I have friends that call me now since I've lost a lot of weight and say, are you all right? They never asked me that when I was obese. That's when I wasn't all right.
Exactly. Yeah, we eat so much, we think you must be getting sick if you lose weight. And that's the thing, you know, we come from, it's like in my family, we eat, we fry everything. I didn't know what sauteing was until I got diabetes.
That's right.
We don't saute, we fry it.
Yeah.
And we would keep the grease in a can in the middle of the stove and reuse the same grease.
That's right.
So not healthy at all.
I have to ask you about The View since I have you here. Y'all have a hot table. I mean, you got some everybody around political persuasion. I mean, how does that work for you?
You know, I love it. It's been so challenging. My whole mantra for my life is do it scared. So anything that scares me, I say yes. So when Barbara Walters called and asked me to be a regular co-host, I was scared to death because I came from a religion. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. We didn't vote.
Right.
So we didn't get involved in politics. And I got put right at the table in the middle of politics. I didn't vote until President Obama ran. That was my very first time going in the voting booth.
Now, what made you vote then?
You know why? Because I was sitting at a table where I had to learn about politics, and I knew nothing about it. In order to talk to these ladies about it, I had to learn about it, and I did it one step at a time. I figured, how does politics affect me and my son? That's how I did it. That's how I learned about politics. So I took my son in the voting booth with me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
he
that.
had a temper tantrum. We almost went Republican for a minute. He almost pulled the wrong lever. So, but we made it through.
You took him in, and he watched you vote.
He watched me vote, yes, and I taught him victory. We got it, yes.
Now, the president came and did the show a couple of times.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was pretty awesome. You know, I'm very proud of him. For my son, you know, when President Obama won, I went in my son's room and I cried because I said, it's actually true. You actually could be president of the United States, Jeffrey.
And that's an awesome thing for a mother who couldn't say that to
I could not say it. You know, you hear it, but you don't believe it. And I took Jeffrey out of school because I wanted him to get a picture with the president, and he had a meltdown. He said, I don't want to take a picture with the president. I said, if you don't get in there and sit on his lap.
Let me show a little clip of you guys with the president.
We are happy to welcome the President and the First Lady of the United States, Barack and Michelle Obama.
Yes.
We're very happy that you came on with us, Mrs. Obama, and brought your date.
I brought him with me. He had a few minutes in his schedule.
You know, I told folks I'm just supposed to be eye candy here for you guys.
No, they're a wonderful couple.
A wonderful couple. I still grin. I was grinning like a donkey the whole time I was sitting on the show. It's something that I feel very proud of this couple. You know, seeing someone that looks like me, because for so many years we had to see other people, and just it was just a wonderful day when they came on the show.
Well, I thought it was wonderful. I thought y'all handled it wonderful. But I'm very, very proud of you and Plan D. And I hope a lot of people, because I've certainly got into that mentality, I hope a lot of people read this book and change their thinking.
I just want people to know, if you're pre-diabetic, don't be scared. If you follow the steps that I've outlined in this book, you won't come over to the side I'm on. And I just tell people, it's a fun read because I'm a fun person. You get to laugh, and I've broken diabetes down for people who can't understand it. So go out and get it, and just don't stay in a position of doing nothing and hiding.
Sherry Shepherd, thanks for joining us tonight, and good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
All right. Up next, it's a special edition of Reply Al, my response to Bill O'Reilly and a pattern of hypocrisy. It's time for a special edition of Reply Al. On his show last night, Bill O'Reilly was apparently offended that I called him out for labeling some of America's poor as, quote, parasites. So he tried to defend himself by revealing something I've never shared with the public either, that he once donated money to my nonprofit to help provide gifts and foods to kids at Christmas.
So I gave Sharpton a $25,000 donation to provide the gifts and the food. I never mentioned it because it wasn't necessary to mention it. But now it is, to prove exactly what kind of person Al Sharpton is.
Bill doesn't realize it, but this story actually reveals what kind of person he is. It says more about him than it does me, because Bill gave that money privately to someone he's publicly called, quote, a race hustler working in what he calls the grievance industry. That's the term that he uses for civil rights work that I do. What are we supposed to think about a man who privately is generous, but who says the most vile and divisive things in public? Why would Bill quietly donate that money to my group while loudly telling his right-wing audience that this is what he thinks of me?
At Al Sharpton and the grievous industry, strike back. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. What the grievance industry does want is to divide the country along racial lines. The tide may be turning against the Sharptons and the race hustlers in general. The race hustlers and their sympathizers have descended into the gutter.
This is the worst kind of gutter talk. But if Bill really thinks that about me, why did he agree to speak at a conference for my civil rights group, the National Action Network, a few years ago? Look, there he is at a convention for the grievance industry. And why would Bill give a so-called race hustler $25,000 to help the poor at Christmas? And why would he write a check to help people that he's called parasites who just want stuff?
The Obama administration is encouraging parasites to come out and, take as much as they can. The majority of blacks want money spent to level the playing field, to redistribute income from the white establishment. There are 50% of the voting public who want stuff. They want things. And who is going to give them things? President Obama.
The sad truth is the good that Bill did with the check he wrote is far outweighed by the vile and hateful things he says on the air, night after night. Bill is playing to the extremists in his audience, and it shows. It shows what's wrong with the right wing today. They can't disagree without being disagreeable. They have to make personal attacks on anyone who has a different point of view. And it's not just me, it's true of everyone, from Sandra Fluke to President Obama. That needs to change. America is better than this. And I hope my friends on the right are better than that too. All right, that's enough for tonight. That's it for tonight's show. I hope everyone has a great weekend, including you, Bill. Thanks for watching. I'm Al Sharpton. Hardball starts right now.